before we start filming, why don't you show me around a little bit? And what are the oldest kind of graves here?
In those woods.
Wow, really?
Hmm.
Wow.
The original church was over there, and it burned down. So they moved here and over that sometime in the 1920s, 1930s, and so they moved here, and people bought different parcels.
Oh, and that's creating a problem, I imagine.
You can see how it is. You don't even know that there. You don't even know that it's a
No.
cemetery. We intentionally kept it like that because we didn't want people to know to steal. And there were marble tombstones there when I was growing up at the time.
Okay.
Dr. Tiene in 2019 came out with us from Valdosta State University,
Yeah.
and he's got the documentation and everything. And then the pandemic hit, so we had to put it on hold. But not many family members know that there are some enslaved here.
Wow.
My
Let me grab my camera. Let's just, because I know it's cold.
Mhm.
So I don't want to make you do this twice.
Okay.
Let me get you a microphone on you.
Okay.
That way we don't have to do it now.
It is cold.
Uh,
It is cold.
yep. What you got planted out there? Red.
Hmm.
All right. I'm gonna put the microphone on you.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. Now, did the professor say he won't make it at all, or is he running late, or do we not know? And then if you want to put that in your pocket.
I don't think we know.
Okay.
He had said he would be here, but you do understand this is a controversial work.
Um. Well, that's what I want to hear more about.
Mm.
What what is it that's making it controversial?
My ancestors were the enslaved who came in with Sion Hall, Hamilton W. Sharp, the Macintoshes, definitely Pliny Sheffield, and those in the 1800s. Those are my ancestors. They kept immaculate oral records, which is what we piggybacked on. My brother Oglesby Jackson Sr., my first cousin Linda Faye Jackson Trotman, are VSU historians who actually, with Mrs. Jane Shelton at Valdosta State University, documented and verified everything that we've been told and seen for ourselves growing up. My great grandfather, Andrew Jackson the First, he and a brother named Manson were brought into this region in 1845 with Pliny Sheffield the First. Their memories were on the boat here in America, following behind Pliny Sheffield with just a little loincloth. and this is where they landed. However, you have to remember that my paternal grandmother and great grandmother and those were already here with Pliny Sheffield and the Halls and everyone else. So Andrew Jackson the first was like the Johnny come lately and the new kid on the block, and he was militant. From what we were all told, he was militant. However, in their history, Andrew Jackson the first and Pliny Sheffield the second were very good friends. Although enslaved, Andrew Jackson the first was the one who maintained the Sheffield plantations during the Civil War era. Andrew Jackson the first was the only black man allowed to own and carry a gun during that era. Huxford actually gave a tribute to my ancestors as those Negroes who carried on during the Civil War and never thought to molest the white women. That is in Huxford's history. The rest of Huxford's history, of course, well, those who follow me know my opinion on all of that. It's not a good history of us. The only history of us relates to my family and our activism, because after the Civil War, and we obtained the land and everything that was going on, the oppression, the Klan, the burning down of the homes. Finally, some of our family members had had enough of it, and they loaded up in the wagons and buggies. This is in the 1880s, our first migration. Huxford acknowledged those prominent Negroes who had ventured, I think, northward or whatever, towards Florida. In other words, they were getting out of Dodge. That was the first migration we had in the family in the 1880s. Fast forward to May of 1918, the Mary Turner lynchings. History's already recorded what they thought happened during that era. In my family, what my grandmother and our ancestors told us, when my grandfather, Andrew Jackson II, and my grandmother, Polly Mae James Jackson, learned of what was happening, they jumped in their buggy and started traveling Jackson Road, going up to Barney, which is where the other half of the family lived. When they came to the Klan patrol, one of the Klansmen reached up to pull my grandmother out of the buggy. One of the Lawson Peach heirs, stopped him and said, "Oh, no, no, no. That's not her. That ain't her. That's just Aunt Polly and Uncle Andy. Let them through." So they allowed my grandmother and my grandfather to travel back and forth during that whole era. And where I showed you earlier, 5234, that is where they all huddled during that whole episode. Now, my brother, Oglesby Lee Jackson Sr., has videos, film strips of family members that he followed all of his life. When he was a little boy, we were in the fields, cotton, tobacco. Oglesby was forever videoing, recording, documenting, and he even has eyewitness testimony from Mr. Rufus Morrison Sr. and some of the RIM men who actually witnessed all of it. Oglesby has that video. I've never seen it. Others have seen it. I haven't seen it. But the significance to my families, they were looking for a pregnant black female. The significance to my family is they lynched Mary Turner. My grandmother delivered my father. The document states when Dad retired from the school bus, I had to get his birth certificate. Had a hard time getting the birth certificate. Could never understand why until recently. Dad's birth certificate states that he was born January 1, 1919, which means that grandmother was pregnant with Daddy at the time of the Mary Turner lynchings. So Dad's actual birth date, I really couldn't say. All I can say is what was on that document, and now it makes more sense now because the whole idea was to find a. But anyway, we've kept that history alive. I promised my dad, and I promised Mr. Rufus Morrison Sr. that I would do all I could to preserve the memories. Mr. Rufus Morrison Sr. There are several cemeteries in Brooks County in the same condition as ours, but I had promised Mr. Rufus Morrison Sr. It's called the Inman Cemetery that he kept most of his life, and I believe Mr. Morrison lived to be close to 100. I'm not sure, but uh, I promised him that I would do all I could to preserve their legacy also. So it's not just about me and my family. It's about all of the history in Brooks, Lowndes, and Thomas because at one time we were all together. All the families were together, and the largest plantations were in this region. At one of our homesteads is where the Confederate troops and the they camped at that home site. I'm sorry, the federal troops had to camp at that home site because there were just so many enslaved people here, and they were protecting the enslaved from the Confederates. And my grandfather owns that. We still own that piece of property today. But I thought I'd mention to you why we're doing this, and it seems kind of strange. When I learned about Midway, I was just moved that someone would care the way that we care, and I'm really thankful and happy that other people care and understand what we're trying to do. Previously, one of the farmers with a backhoe had gone down to the old cemetery and he had wanted to dig up those headstones. But Mr. Henry, I'll call his name, Mr. Henry, the white man that lived there, he stopped him. He said, "Where are you going with that backhoe?" And the man told him he was going to dig up those headstones. He said, "No, you're not." He said, "Those headstones belong to the Jacksons. You go talk to the Jacksons about those headstones." Thank God they're still here. Now, when I was a little girl, they would take us down there. At one time, we could just walk from here to that little pile of earth back there. We could walk there easily. And I haven't figured out how it happened, but over time, the passageway has been covered over by these rich farmers. They have no problem in destroying it all. And I won't call names because I've already been threatened with slander and libel and things of that nature. But they have no interest in seeing us rehab those tombstones. But I said, with every breath in me, I'll do my best. That's why I'm here. But I really wanted to reach out to you and let you know we're doing this for Brooks, Lowndes, and Thomas counties. Dr. Rosemary Horn and I, she's a bit older. This is my 69th year. She had been working in her world. I was working in my world. Didn't even know what each one of us was doing until 2019. Discovered she's doing the same thing I'm doing, and we just made a pact. We know that Thomasville is #1 historically in the state of Georgia, and we have several pieces that we know are historic. So we're working to complete the paperwork and get it in. We want to beat Thomas County as far as being our #1. So that is why we have a passion about what we're doing. But I wanted to show you my ancestors, my mother's grandfathers and her grandmother. They are buried right over there beside the road. And his name is Bordell Thompson. Bordell Thompson was born in 1850, and he died in 1950. And he is the one who reared my mom. He was a Native American, mixed ancestry, Native American and white. His wife, Mary Inman, was full-blooded African. No one knows this until now. Well, me and my brothers and sisters know because I've talked about it forever. They're buried right over there beside the road.
Wow. All right,
Mhm.
let's head over there.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
Good.
Good to see you.
Let me just grab my
I had a
headphones really
therapy
quickly.
appointment. That's why I'm late.
Huh?
I had to go to therapy. Good morning. Yeah.
Oh, you made it.
Yeah, but I had to go to a therapy appointment.
Thank God for coming. Thank you for coming.
Sure.
I'm trying to let people know why this is so important to
It's
us.
very important.
Nobody seems to think so.
Yeah. If you have any belief in Black history and where our ancestors have come from and what they went through, and now we're still dealing with it today. So.
Our county officials don't think so. I'm an open book. I'll tell you I'm at war with them. I have no problems in calling them out. None whatsoever.
But see, that's where you have to step out, because if not, they're going to continue to do what they're doing. I remember what Coretta Scott King said. She said, if you have some positive suggestions, and I'm paraphrasing it, if you sit there and you keep these positive attitude things to yourself when they need to be spoken, she said, then you become part of the problem. So I don't like being a part of the problem. No.
I couldn't do it. I couldn't just walk away. I could have easily just walked away and retired, spent some time in Florida with the rest of my family or in South Carolina. I was telling my husband, no, I can't go out that way, you know. And we're out here on one of the coldest days of the year. And give us your name. She's recording me, so give us your name so other people will know that we're not in this alone.
Oh no, my name is Mary Henry. Yes.
And this is Miss Katie Kaplan from WCTV.
I remember.
I get emotional.
When I see she and her husband on television together, how
I'm
wonderful
just
that
an emotional
is.
wreck.
Thank
This
you so
is
much
this
for
is
watching.
Mary Henley.
Alrighty.
I think a lot of people are just now finding out or understanding what we've been working on all my life. I know, so it's like a new thing for people. And I approached our county for money for this project, and the word is, one of them said, we don't need to have our children out there playing with dead bodies. And the whole idea was economic development, teaching the kids how to use a rake, use a lawnmower, and learning from Dr. Tiame and those, what they're doing, and Dr. Tiame with the, what do you call those things? Yes, the drones, and showing them how you skate, and a part of that is preserving our churches, our buildings that are falling in and need repair. That was the whole vision, because Brooks County is number 2 historically. Yet and still, I think Mrs. Shackelford's church, that might be the only facility that we have documented historic. I forget. I'm 69. I think I'm allowed to forget. But we have at least 25 other facilities that are just as historic as that one. But I was showing her where the old cemetery is down there. That's our old cemetery. Perhaps yours are easier to get to than ours. I know that the Inman Cemetery is not that hard to get to. And we have the Mount Zion, and I think Mr. Maxwell's is it's really easy to get to theirs. But the whole idea was just to document this history, That's what it was all about. But they didn't want the kids digging, playing with dead bodies. So here we are. It is cold out here, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
But I wanted to show her. Come, let me show you. You're familiar with R.C. McIntosh, aren't you, Miss Katie? The Macintoshes, newspaper Macintoshes.
Okay, yes.
This is one of their servants. I don't want anyone to fall in over here. There used to be a familiar tree, and my cousins and those cut it down. That was the way I could tell their grave. I'm looking for Bardell and Mary. Bardell Thompson. I have to be careful. Some of them are already covered over. But Miss Henley, Jim McGee has documentation of all this.
Yeah, there's some graves here was all covered over.
I was looking for my granddaddy's. My great granddaddy. Handy rim, the rim. I don't remember them being over this far. Here it is. I found it. There used to be a magnolia tree. That's what it was. A magnolia tree right here.
Oh, yeah. That'll do some damage.
Well, they said that's why they cut it down. Bardell Thompson, born 1850, died April 22nd, 1950. Lived to be 100 years of age. He is the one who reared my mom. He was an R.C. McIntosh slave. He and his wife, Mary Inman Thompson. But those headstones, everything that we have of that old cemetery, I could send that to you. I could try, or get Dr. TMA to send all that to you, because we have a video of when they went in with the slingshots and whatever. What is all that y'all had, honey, when we went back there?
Oh, yeah, everything.
We had a crew.
All the tools they needed.
Yes. You can see for yourself how huge a cleanup project that is. And I think Dr. TMA estimated there were like 100 graves over there.
Yeah.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Let me just ask you some basic logistical
Okay.
questions. Talk to me a little bit about. Oh, first of all, please start with your first and last name.
Oh.
State it and spell it just for the record.
My name is Fatty Marie Jackson Gibbs.
And talk to me a little bit about your foundation, the name of it. And
Oh, the name of the foundation is Macedonia Community Foundation Incorporated, and the mission of the foundation is to restore, preserve, document, archive African American and Native American cemeteries, museums, churches, houses, artifacts, anything of that nature. That is our mission.
And you had talked about a connection between several South Georgia counties. Tell me a little bit about that, please.
Yes, because this is the region in the 1800s. It was all wiregrass territory. We didn't have the counties separated as they are now. So when the original enslaved were brought here, this whole area was called the wiregrass territory. With this being the first territory, Marvin being the first territory, that's where we began. But you have to remember, it started branching out and they started making counties. And they took a portion of Lowndes County and a portion of Thomas County and made Brooks County. So we have relatives in Lowndes County and Brooks County. And the young people have found we have relatives pretty much everywhere. So.
And I know you wrote a book that's, I believe,
Yes.
online.
Yes, I did.
Talk to me a little bit about that.
The Jackson Road was truthfully, it was a vent. I vent a lot. And when I vent, I write. But I had been documenting all of this all my life. I first brought it out in 1980s, I believe. I revealed it to my family members at that spot I showed you. And some of them were coming, looking at what I had read, and I was making a distinction as to great-grandmother Mary Inman was blueberry black. And I said, Papa was almost white. And a lot of them became angered about it. We fight a lot in my family. We love to fight. We love to fight. We love to eat. We love to get together. We fight a lot. And I'm not the best when it comes to behavior. I'm diagnosed by bipolar. I never even knew what that was until my dad passed suddenly in August of 1982. And I became catatonic. I couldn't speak for a long time. And my sister finally told my mom, you know, Mother, there's something strange about a person like Marie walking around my house. They took me to a psychiatrist, and he gave me some Cinequan and some other stuff to make me talk, and I haven't stopped talking. And at that time, I'm a member of the Church of Christ. In that faith, they didn't believe in psychiatrists, things of that nature. I grew up in the era where Christians couldn't be doctors maybe because of what the doctors, you know, it was that type of era. But so after Mom reviewed the report, she says, all you're doing is laying down on a sofa and telling the family business. I'm not paying for that. So that was the end of my therapy. But thank God, I recognized that it was normal. And then I think, given situations in life, I think everybody's bipolar myself. I really do. But a lot of people don't want to own that. But the situation with my dad, when my dad passed, I just couldn't speak. It hurt me so bad because growing up, that little spot I showed you, there was a pond there. And Dad, I'm still stuck there, him holding my hand. He says, Fanny, you see this pond? We're going to dig this pond out. We're going to put some fish here. I'm going to put some cabins over there. And cousin Meddy is in Detroit. She's going to come home one day. And he said, cousin so-and-so is in New Jersey. And I'm thinking, all these people. He said, now, and over there, they can stay over there if they want to. So in my mind growing up, I was going to be rich and famous with my dad. And when I retired, Dad and I were going to be sitting out there fishing, just having a good old time. I never dreamed that I would have to live without my dad. So it put me in another state. But I'm thankful to this day that God gave me the grace to understand and comprehend it all. In my 69th year, I'm back at that pond. And I'm saying to Daddy, I'm doing all I can to bring your relatives home. Now, social media opened up. Discovered cousins. There's one, Cheryl Taylor Oliver. Her story, you just can't believe it. She was in the towers when they collapsed. She reached out to me on social. We've been following and piggybacking, and Gloria Yuri Rayford and Antoine Nelson, who's actually come and seen and touched the tombstones, and I had given up. And they gave me the courage to continue on. Thank God, 2 weeks ago, we discovered Kalinda Brown, who is the daughter of one of my high school classmates. She has taken this to another level. She will have to have a website for all of the people that came out of this region who are interested in this region, want to come see the cemeteries. They want to see the home. Forgive me, I insulted people when I said they don't want to see the plantations. And that insulted people. My people want to come to see where we are, how we grew up. For example, the McCall House. My dad had to fight for that McCall House. It was one of the houses that the railroad men were using when they were building the railroad. And at the time that it went up for auction or whatever, they didn't want any black person to have it. Thank God, my dad with, we call him Brother McCall and others, they were able to rescue not only that house, but there's another one called the Rogers House. So see, my relatives, they want to come. They want to come in peace. They're not coming to disturb or destroy anybody's peace. It's a miracle that we found each other after 100 years. I call it a miracle. And I wanted to let them know I'm still out here fighting. God knows I need to be in the bed. I'm going to share this. I was at the emergency room yesterday and need to be in the hospital right now. But I couldn't stop because I said, if she's coming, I'm coming to tell our story. And my husband helped me to get up and get dressed, and here I am. So I don't know what else to tell you, but it's been a journey. It's been a journey.
Talk to me a little bit about what you're doing to preserve these historical places.
I received my first grant, $1,500 from the Garden Club in 2019, and that is how we were able to get initial supplies and hire Dr. T. Eme to start the initial dig restoration. I went before the Brooks County Development Authority last year, and I gave them like a 100-page document of what we were doing. And through the graces of Dr. Rosemary Horn, she found out that the Industrial Authority had money, $7,500, and she was advising every black nonprofit, come, apply for this money, get this money. So off I go. Took it down there myself. And she called me. You're going to get we wanted the $7,500 just to fence in that area so that we won't have to continually cut down the shrubbery and all of that. That's what we wanted to fence it in, and that would have been just enough to fence it in so that we can do whatever Dr. T.M. and those need to do. And she called and told me, you've got it, you're going to give the money, you're going to get it. But a certain person who I won't name because, like I told you, I'm being threatened with libel, slander, and all of his brothers and sisters. He came in at the tail end. What are you all doing? And I'm probably divulging. But see, if I were there as a public, I would have witnessed it. So I don't want to give away a trust. But anyway, a certain person vetoed all of that, and she had to fight for the $1,500 that was given to us from the Brooks County Industrial Authority, which that $1,500 was used again to plow back into what we're doing. You've got your licensing fees, just overhead fees and stuff just to keep us going. So that's as far as I've gotten. I put my foot down with members in the organization. I've been sending out letters and emails to like 100 people or more. And only a few people have been responding. Our annual dues are $50 a year. I sent them an email, send me your $50 by January 31st, or you will receive no further communication from me. I don't care who you are, brother, sister, daughter, son. I'm tired. And they're thinking that I've made a lot of money. I made a lot of money, we'd be in Hawaii. But that's where we are now. I'm sponsoring the South Georgia Juneteenth. Now that's another problem there. In my bright mind, Brooks County has built this 500-seat performing arts facility, 500-seater. How can with nonprofits, it's always, how can you make money other than selling fish and chicken? How can you make money? Bright idea. We have a cousin. His name is Curtis Rim. They spell their name differently, Rayam. He is in the family that left in the 1920s behind the Mary Turner lynchings. They had no idea why they ended up in Florida. Curtis is a well-known, superb soprano or tenor. And he is an adjunct professor, forgive me, Curtis, if I'm messing it up, at Bethune-Cookman College. One of my cousins, Gloria Yerby Rafer, said, Fanny, well, just ask Curtis about doing a benefit. I said, okay, I'm so tired of begging and asking people. But I did. And he came back and he said, sure, I'd love to. I said, oh my God. Then I found out about the Performing Arts Center, and he said he would come, and I'm thinking in my mind, 500 seater. I started out with $100 per ticket. Oh, that money would just carry out. We could do every cemetery in Brooks County. You know what I mean? And then I'm thinking Brooks County, poorest county in Georgia. And I'm thinking, okay, well, maybe $50. And so I stopped at $50 if you figure up 500 times 50. And then I'm thinking about the kids, knowing they don't have any money. How will I get the kids in? I'm thinking maybe $5 or $10 a ticket. Mind now, this is just a fundraiser for the foundation. I'm not begging them for money. I just want to do the benefit. The Brooks County Board of Education, the principal, he sent me the agreement whereby we could have the facility for June 18th. And I think right off the bat it's going to take $5,000 because you've got to have insurance as a nonprofit. You know how much that costs. Then you've got to have the fees to pay everybody that they use or whatever. So that cuts that profit. So that's where I am right now. And I have asked the Brooks County Commissioners, the City of Quitman. I haven't sent the Board of Education theirs yet because I got sick. But I'm asking every and anybody who is willing to help us do this, to help us. And my mom always accused me of being a professional beggar, and I was crying. This whole thing, I was just crying. So my mom just jinxed me. She said, Mom, you called me a professional beggar. I'm so tired of begging, Mom. I'm so tired of begging. And God came to me and said, get up off your knees. Get up off your knees and fight like you've always fought in your life. And certain situations, I shouldn't talk about politics, but anyway, I'm fighting this one. I've got to fight this one. And we'll talk about it after you know, I don't want to talk about it on camera, but I've got to fight this one. I've got to. I don't have a choice. They put me in a situation where I do not, now, my brother Osby and I, 30 years, I have the picture of Andrew Jackson I and his two daughters. We acquired it after they built the new house that you saw next to the little, my dad, the year that he died, my dad and my sister and I, we were walking and he went to their house and he was just walking, because it's one of those huge houses. And he was just walking around and we didn't know, you know, my sister and I, we were just wondering what was going on in Dad's mind. And all of a sudden, Dad looked up and there was this portrait there and he grabbed it and we looked, Daddy, who is that? And he said, well, that's my granddaddy, Andrew, and that's Aunt Cherry, and that's Aunt Olivia. And so my sister, Voncelle Patricia Jackson Fan, she grabbed it, and we've managed to preserve it and keep it. I tried at least 30 years to get the Brooks County Museum to have interest in it. I want us to be a part of their collections. They weren't interested in anything we had to offer. My brother Osby had tried politely years before I stepped in. And finally, I just like, well, you know, they don't want this history in the museum. And now that we have decided to open and build our own African American museum, they want to fight us. Now, how am I supposed to feel? I wish somebody would tell me if I'm supposed to be feeling differently. I get confused. I really do. I'm 69. I'm confused. What do they want? And Huxford's tribute to all these ancestors, you know, during that era, they were concerned about the slaves rising up and killing and maiming and raping the white women. But Huxford gives a tribute. My grandfather and all of those, they didn't rise up. They didn't burn it all down. They protected it. They fed this whole nation. What do they want us to do? I'm sorry. Anything else? Any other questions?
I appreciate your passion.
Go ahead.
Can you talk to me about what is in the woods back there? just some basic details just to get it again.
There are at least 100 tombstones of enslaved people in the woods back there. We know that many of them were the ones who hewed out the Coffee Road and built Brooks Lounge in Thomas County. We know that from following Enoch Hall, Sion Hall, Hamilton W. Sharp, Pliny Sheffield. This is why we know that. That's where they are. We just wanted to get in there and recognize them and thank them for everything they had done for us.
And you said the original location of the church was back in that area?
Yes, the church was back in that area, and one of the deacon burned it down. Are you recording?
Oh, I am.
I can't say, but anyway.
Don't throw him under the bus, right?
It burned down. That church burned down, which is why they moved here.
And that land now has been sold? Is that what I understand?
The land around it has been sold. We still own the cemetery, but we don't have a easement. It would be so easy to just stop right there and walk right down there. Well, you see, there used to be trees all here, but the farmers, you see how they're inching and making it farmland. This is the same thing they're doing to that tract. If it were up to certain farmers, that whole thing would be plowed under.
How does that make you feel, having to protect this and knowing that kind of time's running out, right, in a lot of ways?
I'm very angry. I'm very angry with a certain man who is very prominent and rich, and I reached out to him 10, 15 years ago with an actual letter, and he did call me, and I have not heard from him since. I'm very angry. I'm very angry. You got $1 billion. What is it to you to give us $10,000 to restore and preserve this? So it's a spiritual thing. I can't do what God couldn't do. I can't do it. To me, it's just common sense. You say you love me. You say you love America. Oxford even gave a tribute to these people for saving Brooks County. What are you going to do? You ask me how do I feel? I'm pretty much telling you how I feel.
What would you like to see done?
And God didn't make me rich. If I became disabled before I was fully insured, which meant I had to go out on SSI and food stamps, which is what I'm on today. God had to keep me humble, because if I were like certain other ones in my family, it would have been done. I sacrificed everything. It would have been done. But it wasn't God's will for Fanny to do it alone. It was never Fanny's project anyway. It was never about Fanny being rich. I could care less about riches, because I am the richest woman in this world because of everything God brought me through. Pancreatic cancer, homeless, living on the streets, both of us. I'm sorry. I have to tell the story. I'm not painting no pretty picture of my life. Couldn't walk. Needed help getting up and down. Still need help moving around. Want to be in my bed playing on Facebook, and I'm out here in this cold still fighting. And I'm mad. Yes, I'm mad. And they know who I'm mad with. And I think I deserve to be mad.
Is there anything else you would like to add?
I know they're not going to let you play this, but anyway. They're not going to let you play this. No. I'm going to fight them. I'm going to fight them with every breath in my body. I just need a few people to fight with me. I'm sorry. Mary, Henley.
I think that's pretty good. Your nonprofit, is it
501c3. I make sure all my dues are paid and legal and everything. Got the bank account still going. I make sure I have $25 left in there every month, the end of the month, to keep it legitimate, because I know that I am a target. And they will use everything in this world to bring me down. So I acknowledge first that I'm a poor, black, angry woman in America. Dig all you want to. Dig. But I'm not stupid.
How can people connect with your nonprofit?
fmjgibbs@gmail.com. 229-548-9462. Do Zelle if you're going to help me. Do Zelle. Or send it through the mail. 593 Bruce Cove Drive, Valdosta, Georgia, 31602. Or give it to any family member. They know what to do with it. I don't want it.
And there's a Facebook page too, right?
Hmm?
There's a Facebook page?
Yeah. Yeah, it's me, Fannie Marie. I used to have a Macedonia one,
Right.
but after these young folks took this new one, Brooks County enslaved African Americans, and I knew I had the right group of young kids. I took my crap down. Like, this is what I've been looking for. I don't need this anymore, trying to keep up with and put. I don't need that. I need to rest. Kalinda Brown. I've given her all my full faith and trust and confidence because she knows what we're trying to do. And all the young kids in my family, I've been telling them, Auntie's serious. So you better get with Kalinda Brown because Kalinda knows what to do. No, my Facebook page is Fannie Marie. Fannie Marie Jackson Gibbs. I can be found anywhere.
And then before.
I'm sorry, baby. I'm so sorry.
No, we got
And then I always say, don't get emotional. I can hear my mom and my sister Pat and my baby sister Laverne. Fannie, now you go there and you act right, and don't you be cutting up and climbing up and going on. It's just me. You know, what you see is what you get.
Well, we love that. Come right over here. I'm just going to get a shot of us looking out. Could you give me a little more video to work with?
Your folks aren't gonna let you in this. No way.
It just depends. I obviously have to go to the city and the county, and hopefully I'll be able to connect with, some other people just to weigh in on it, to have a complete story. So I'll take
Please
whatever
do.
contacts we can get. Hey,
Please
come turn
do.
around and point
Oh.
to me. Can I access, if I was to go, and I was willing to kind of walk through some of the...
Right there. That's it.
Okay.
That is it. See, we used to be able to walk right there.
Right.
We had a little trail. Walk right there. Now this belongs to Timothy Hires, who owns one of the largest John Deere dealerships in America.
Okay.
Farm South, that belongs to him now. The other acreage belongs to John Langdale.
Okay.
And the other parcel belongs to some corporate entity in New York, I think.
And your family, when did they get their property, and how did that come about? Do you know?
Oh, 1870, right after the Civil War.
And
But actual deeds didn't start coming until, later. Right?
sure.
But we've always been here.
And it's hard to have documentation, right? Because nobody was documenting African American history back then, right?
Right.
And so tell me a little bit about the oral history and how that's been handed down through your family.
My grandmother, Holly Mae James Jackson, her grandfather was Ben Davis, who was one of the first slaves of the Sheffields. Pliny Sheffield 1, Pliny Sheffield 2, came from Haiti, that 1800 group. Sheffield slaves. That's my great-grandmother's side. Docile, meek, mild, humble, salt of the earth type of slave. My mother's people, Native Americans, R.C. McIntosh, good, step above, good. They used to live right over there, big house right over there. Salt of the earth people. And then you have Andrew Jackson, who came in the 1840s with Pliny Sheffield and his brother from West Africa, defiant, angry black. So, there was a protest When my grandmother decided to marry Andrew Jackson II, white people protested. They didn't want grandmama marrying that scum. This is from my grandmother. They didn't want Aunt Polly. My grandmother is a noted midwife, 3,000 plus births,
Wow.
and she was like the main midwife for black and white
Wow.
in this county. So there's some stories there.
That's amazing. Do you have anything at your house that would be an interesting visual, whether it's the photo you were talking about or any documentation just regarding that I could film?
Oh, I didn't bring any with me.
Okay. What about is your brother around
Oh.
and open to this, or?
Oh no, that you can film? You mean?
Yeah, just for visuals and whatnot.
No, O's was really secluded. He's 79, but he very seldom interacts with.
Gotcha.
Let me see. Hold on. Let me call him, Jerry. I can ask him. Oh, he's got a vault. Osby has a vault. He has the gun that Granddaddy had. He's got. I need to. I don't think he will.